Three, two, 3, 2, 1. And I'm so sick of love songs, so tired of tears, so done with wishing you were still here. Said I'm so sick of love songs, so sad and slow. So why can't I turn off the radio? Hey yo, welcome back to another episode of the Arts Block Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Curry the third. Welcome to another episode, man. It's so great to see y'all. Episode 103. Well, look how far we done made it. If y'all watching on your favorite podcast platform, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please give me a 5-star in review. You can just say that this is the greatest podcast that you have ever heard in your life, and that will suffice. If you are watching on YouTube, first things first, I don't want to see no comments on the outfit. I don't want to see no comments on the socks. I don't want to see no comments on nothing. It's late. It is 10 o'clock at night right now. It is very late. I am sick. I might sound sick. I might sound a little congested because I am. So I don't want to hear nothing. I just took some NyQuil. I'm right after I record this, KO. I'm done. I'm going to bed right after. Right after this is done, I'm out. So I don't want to hear nothing about nothing. But if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you can be notified every time we post a podcast. Listen, I was inspired to talk about the episode that I was talking about today. Let me try again. I was inspired to talk about the topic that I'm going to talk about today by this girl that this woman that works, that's the RA of my building. Her name's Deborah. Shout out Deborah if you're listening to this, if you're watching this. She was listening to the 100th episode of the pod, and as I was like walking past the desk, she was like, "Hey, like, no, like, I'm listening to the pod." Like, she was like, it's good. She was like, "Man, like, as you're talking, a lot of the things that you're saying is resonating to me, right?" But she was like, "But like, I often say things to other people that resonate to me as well, but I relate the advice to other people as advice, but I should be taking that advice too." So I sat there and I thought about it. And I was like, how often do we sit and we say things to other people that we need to hear personally, right? So I started thinking and started doing some thinking about some things that I need to hear and that I need to just sit and listen to. And if somebody would tell me this, then I would sit and listen to it. So I'm just going to sit up here and tell y'all this, right? And what we're going to talk about is the storm. The journey, having to go through the storm, man, having to go through the journey, the other side of the storm. And what does that look like? Excuse me. I had a burp. Man, I've been sick. I've been drinking orange juice all day. I hate pulp. I've been drinking high pulp orange juice. Like, I feel better, but I hate it. I hate orange juice. I don't hate orange juice. I just I'd prefer apple juice, and I hate pulp. I don't want but I've been drinking the high pulp orange juice to make myself feel better, and I have been feeling better. I've been taking medicine. I need to put on some Vicks. I've been cleaning up the house, washing clothes. I washed hairs, and I done a lot of stuff today. Today has been a long periodical day. I've had a long periodical day today. I was in 2 meetings at the same time. As I was in those meetings, I was studying for 2 tests. As I was studying for those 2 tests, I was also coming up with the topic for this podcast episode. My mind is crazy right now. My mind is like it's like a hoarder's house right now. It's just like a hoarding information in there, so cluttered in there. So for my space to be so organized, this is actually something that I need, for my space to finally be organized and clean and smelling good and looking good and everything, like, it's not cluttered and everything looks how it's supposed to look. I actually needed my space to look like this so my head can stop looking like this. Y'all know when they be like, man, if your space is clean, then you start like thinking clearer, like your space is a representation of like what your head looks like. Y'all ever heard of that before? That's what they be saying. That's what they be saying on the street. Anyway, let's just jump straight into it. I'm yapping. All right. So boom, right? I think everybody, what I have been needing to hear, right, is just the fact that you have to go through a storm to get to what you want. Like, people talk about doing things for the plot all the time, right? And they be like, oh, well, I'm just going to do this for the plot. I'm going to do this for the plot. I'm going to do that for the plot. However, a lot of the things that they do for the plot isn't progressive for their life. It isn't going to change their life at all. It isn't going to help them do anything, right? And if you're not familiar with the saying of doing it for the plot, it's basically just doing it to be able to tell the story, right? Doing something just so I can tell the story that this happened. For example, one of my for the plot stories is actually, I don't think I have a for the plot story that I can tell on the pod. I don't think I have one that I can say on here. Actually, I actually don't think I have a for the plot story I can say on here. So you know what? I'm just gonna leave my for the plot story doesn't matter. But you have a for the plot story though. You've done something in your life that you was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this so I can tell the story about it later. This is what the storm is that, right? However, the storm is necessary for everything. And sometimes the storm is inescapable. Like, you can't run from the storm. It just happens, especially when you're on a grind towards something, right? However, a lot of people don't want to go through that. A lot of people want to go around that and get to the other side of success. Let me explain to you why that is so detrimental, right? Because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of creatives, there's a lot of people that do art and make things that do that or think that way, that think like, hey, you know what? There's this storm, there's this struggle, there's this turmoil, there's anything, there's this hump in the road that I want to get over, right? However, you know, I think there might be a detour or like another way I can, you know what, I can try to get around this. However, you can't. There's no way you can get around the storm, especially when you're on the grind. It's just something that you have to go through. And some people might go through it earlier than other people. For example, me. I'm going through my storm in my season of like desert and like my season of like dryness and all of that stuff, rain, storms, clouds. I'm going through all of that now, today, right? But you go through that now, so later down the line, you don't have to go through that no more. Or it's some people that don't go through that now. And later down the line, once they get to the place that they always dreamed of, then they have to go through the storm, right? It's always two things that you can do though. You can go through it, or you can try to avoid it. However, you trying to avoid the work or avoid the hardship or avoid the situation is going to take way longer than you just going through it. Or if it doesn't take longer, it's going to send you somewhere else that you're not supposed to go. Or if it doesn't send you someplace else that you're supposed to go, once you get to your end destination, the same challenges that was in the storm is going to meet you when you get there. I think that's the part that we don't understand, right? Like, we think that we go through challenges one time and those challenges just stop. That's not really the case. And that's just a life thing, right? Like, as you go through life, you go through challenges, you go through challenges, you go through challenges. Challenges never really stop. You just learn how to adapt. So your adaptability becomes better, but the challenges you go through don't really become easier. Or they don't they become easier because you're able to adapt. But the challenges remain the same though. They don't like say if you have this season, the storm that you're dealing with is saving money, right? You're struggling with saving money. You're struggling with like saving and like you're trying to save for a new car or whatever, or a new apartment or whatever, right? And you're trying to save money, but you keep spending money, and you're struggling, and you're like, dang, I'm keep spending money. I don't know what to do. You know what? Let's just, let me just get a higher paying job. You think, oh, you know what? If I can just get a higher paying job, then, I'm not going to have to worry about it. I'm going to get my apartment, woo, right? You getting that higher paying job isn't going to make you more financially literate. It's just going to make you have more money with bad financial literacy. You get what I'm saying? But if you stuck through that storm of, you know what, let me budget, let me save, let me make a spreadsheet of everything that I spend my money on. Let me make sure like I cut my wants in half, and let my needs stay my needs, but my wants cut in half. Or, sometimes I can't get what I want and I have to wait for it so I can get this main goal thing, right? Once you get through that and you get to the other side, then you can be like, okay, if I get this better paying job, I already know how to budget and I can get some of my wants. Instead of you being like, oh, I just got this better paying job, let's just spend all this money. Da, da, da. You get what I'm saying? Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all following me so far? So yeah, sometimes the storm is so necessary and that's character development. Like, where do you think you develop character as a person, as an artist, as a creative, as just a man or a woman in on earth? Where do you think you develop? You don't develop on the, like, once you get to the other side, you should already be developed. So for example, the goal for the Arts Block podcast for me is number one podcast in the world. Once I get to number one podcast in the world, I want to be already developed when I get there. I no longer want to be developing as a brand once I get there. I want to already be developed. I want to be, so when I get to number one, I can just enjoy the fruits of my labor that I've done so far. I don't want to have to sit and be like, oh man, but it's, we gotta work and I just don't feel this because I didn't get everything that I need to get out of the process, right? Most people feel upset or they don't feel fulfilled in what they do once they get to the other side, and they get to the other side and they be like, you know what, this isn't great. This didn't feel right? Because most of the time they didn't get everything they needed to get out of the process. And I think that's why the process is so important and why people need to follow the process. Like, you know how to, and there's a limit, right? Like the process is only going to last so long. The storm is only going to last so long. Storm process, same thing. It's only going to last so long, right? But we have to look at the other side. For example, people get on Joel Embiid in the Philadelphia 76ers all the time for saying, oh, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. We've been trusting the process for 10 years. However, if they're still trusting it, then hey, like, it's up to them to keep trusting that process, right? Like, it's up for you to keep trusting that process. And people think that they're just, that after a day, people as in me, after a day of struggle, after a day of hardship, after a tough day, after a hard day of work, you're working, you're slaving away. After that one day, you think, oh man, tomorrow, that's when it's going to happen. The big break. I'm ready. All right, I did that one day of struggle. All right, tomorrow is going to be, the tomorrow comes and now it's more struggle. Then the next day comes and it's even more struggle. Then the next day comes and it's even more struggle. And you realize that, oh nah, it's going to be this constant cycle of struggling and constant cycle of me falling and having to get up, and this constant cycle of trial and error, and this constant cycle of me like having to figure things out on my own, until like I get to a point where like I can go through all these challenges I faced like head on. For example, right, when I first started the pod, one of the main things that I do, like, you can still go back to old episodes today, and I record the pod on Zoom. Like, I go to a Zoom meeting, set up my phone, switch the camera to my phone, set in, connect my mic, record like that, right? Then I take the audio from the Zoom, I split the audio file, take the audio from the Zoom, put it into GarageBand, export that file. So now I have the video and the audio file, right? So when I used to upload the audio files, like when I first started the pod, like, you can go back. Some of my past interviews, right? I would leave on the click in GarageBand, like the 1, 2, 3, 4 click, right? I used to leave that on in GarageBand accidentally, like the metronome. There you go. That's the name of it. The metronome. I used to leave on the metronome click, and unintentionally though, like, I would forget to cut it off. And there's published episodes of the podcast now with a metronome click in the pod, in the whole pod, whole 30, 40, 50 hour long pod, all you hear is in the middle of me and a guest talking. But that's something I had to learn. I had to learn from that. I had to adjust from that, right? For example, other like episodes more recently, I had mic issues. Like my mic sounded good one episode, my mic didn't sound good another episode. My mic, it just wasn't consistent, right? The sound of the podcast wasn't consistent. I had to jump over that hurdle, and now I'm in a hurdle, right, of like, okay, how do I promote? Like, what do I use to promote? Like, how often do I promote? Like word of mouth. Like, word of mouth seems to be working way better for me. Like, so how do I keep the word of mouth thing going? So now I'm just like, you're always in a constant moment of figuring it out. But once you figure that part out, you don't have to focus about that part ever again. That's the part I'm trying to get to. But if you're so focused on, man, I have to get through this. I have to get over this. I have to get over this hurdle. I have to get over this thing, right? If you're so focused on that and not just enjoying the process, then you're going to miss over the lessons that you learn throughout the way. And you're going to forget a lot of the things that you learned because you're so focused on getting over and not just what is it that you're learning now. The process is for you to learn so that when you get to the goal that you're trying to get to, you don't have to learn there. Nobody wants to get to the goal and learn at the goal. Nobody. Imagine, think about basketball players, right? They play 82 games. Then they play in the playoffs. So imagine playing all 82 games. Then you get to the playoffs, win out the playoffs, get to the championship, and now you get to the championship just to have to, oh man, dang, now I have to learn about this aspect of the game. Now I have to learn about, oh dang, I have to learn about, how do I condition my body for 90 something games in a year instead of 82. Now I have to learn about you feel me? Like, now I have to learn about like my diet and nutrition. But if you was already doing those things before, during the journey, before you got to the playoffs, during the playoffs and through the championship, those are things you don't even have to think about. You don't even have to concern yourselves on those things, right? I think we often, me included, we look at the process as tiring, as exhausting, as sometimes unnecessarily long, which all of those things are true. All of those things can be true. It's tiring, it's exhausting, it's unnecessarily long. Pause. But it's necessary for growth and development. And any artist can tell you that. Any good artist will tell you that the process is worth. Listen, the sleepless nights, going to bed hungry, being sleepy on the pod, recording the pod late, recording the pod early, those metronome clicks, the microphone like malfunctions and all of those things that I had to go through. But I tell you, that's going to be so worth it. That's going to be so worth it because I learned from that and I've grown from that. And it's worth it now. Like, I've learned from that and I've grown from that and I've gained so much more confidence from that. So I'm just here to give you all encouragement on you guys' future and tell you, hey, if you're in a moment right now where you're in your mind are like, hey, I don't like this season that I'm in. I don't like this moment that I'm in. I wish I can skip and fast forward to the part where everything is okay. I'm right there with you. I wish I can skip and fast forward to the part where I am number one pod. I wish, and I'm surrounded by family and friends, and we're celebrating, and champagne is getting toasted, and I'm crying and all of the stuff. I wish I could skip to that moment too. But say you do skip to that moment, right? Say you get there. You're able to time travel to the moment where your goal is reached, right? And you get there and you're sitting there. I don't know about for everyone watching this, but I know for me personally, I will sit there and I'll be like, I wonder what happened to get here. I wonder what I had to do to get to this point. I wonder if I am like, am I proud of myself for getting here? Am I proud of myself for having to skip through all of these pivotal moments that got me here and me just able to skip all that and just get like, how am I proud? Will you still be proud of yourself the same way that you would be if you went through all the work? I seen this video of this lady with her kids, right? And she was getting her results back from the bar test, I think from the California bar test, and she passed. And she was crying, her kids was crying. It was like a very sweet moment of like her and her kids did a group hug, right? It was a very sweet moment. But you only get to that moment if you do all of the work to get to that moment. Because at that moment, because once you get to that goal moment, right, it's not just like, oh man, I hit the goal finally. It's all of the work that you put in that comes back to you at that moment. It's like, dog, I did this, I did that, I did this, I failed this many times, I tried this many times, I done this, X, Y, and Z, and now I'm here. Who doesn't want to say, and now I'm here? I want to say, and now I'm here. That's what I want to say. I want to be able to look back at everything I did and be like, yeah, and now I'm here. I did X, Y, and Z. I go through a whole story, laundry list of things that I've done. Oh yeah, I did this, I messed up in these ways. I done did X, Y, and Z. I done business wrong this many times, but guess what? Now I'm here. Who doesn't want to say that? I want to say that. I feel like that would be cool to say. Yeah, we like, you have to go through it, but don't think about it as a tough journey through the storm. Don't think about it as like, oh man, I gotta go through the rough part. Oh man, I gotta go through this part of where nobody's buying my stuff, nobody's listening to the music, nobody's watching the movies. Oh man, why do I gotta do this? Why can't I just skip to the part, right? Because you're learning here. Imagine if I had 100,000. Imagine if I had the millions of people that will listen to the Arts Block podcast, right? Imagine if I had those millions of people listening to the podcast that had the clicks in them. Do you know how embarrassing that would be? Do you know how much my unpreparedness was showing back then? Now think about that to you. Like, imagine you want millions of people, hundreds of thousands of millions of people to buy your product, but your product isn't ready, or your music isn't mixed right, or your drawings, your paintings aren't even like fully done. Like, just imagine that. Imagine that. Like, you want millions of people to support you now, not knowing who you're going to be when the millions of people start supporting you. That's crazy, right? That's a crazy thing to think about. Enjoy the now. Like I say on my radio show every week, man, we have to live today like it's our last. Forget about the past. Pour ourselves an extra wine glass because we're celebrating you today. There's so many people that go to work, take care of their families, cook, clean, come home, maybe get a chance to watch their show and do it all over again every single day. Go wake up, drop the kids off to school, go to work, clock out, pick the kids up from school, go home, cook, clean, put the kids to bed, maybe get a chance to watch their show all over again the next day. Then say if you got some active kids, you got to take your kids to practice and a whole bunch of things, right? In between that, right? And you do so much that sometimes, or if you're a student, because a lot of the things that I do is for young people and for students, right? You go to school, some of you might go to work, come home, you gotta be you live with a roommate, so you probably don't even have your own like real space for real because you live with a roommate. Whole bunch of stuff, right? And oftentimes throughout our days, throughout our weeks, throughout our trying times, we don't feel like we're being celebrated. We just would like a good job. We just would like a hey, I see you. We would just like a fist bump walking down the street. Sometimes you would just like that. That's enough for you. So I bring this saying here to the Arts Block podcast that I say on the Block Radio. Let's live today like it's our last. Forget about the past. Pour yourself an extra shot glass, because in this world you're going to need it. Because guess what? We're celebrating you today. Think about every single day that you go to sleep and you wake up. A celebration. You get another chance to go through the storm again. You get another opportunity to be one day closer to your goals and dreams. You get another day to get things right. My aunt used to say that all the time during Thanksgiving. My aunt used to say every year during Thanksgiving, I hate when we go around in the circle and we say what we thankful for in the circle. I don't know if y'all families do that, but my family does that every year without fail. We go around the circle and we say what we thankful for. My uncle always takes a long time doing it. My cousins always say the same thing. My aunt always say the same thing. Like it's a whole thing, right? And I hate it so much. And my aunt always said, I remember this. She always used to say, I'm just thankful for another chance to get it right. She always used to say that. And I used to be pissed every time she said it. I'm like, okay, aunt, we get it. How many chances you need to get it right? How many chances? Like, you done got it wrong so many times. How many chances do you need to get it right? Jeez. Like, look, we spending every Thanksgiving, them food over here getting cold because you need chances to get it right. Okay. All right. Okay, let's eat. Bon appetit, right? Until last Thanksgiving, we went down to South Carolina, and guess what I said as my Thanksgiving, like what I was thankful for the year, right? I was thankful for another opportunity to get it right. Like, I finally understood it. Like, I finally understood, like, man, you go through something and it's tough and it's difficult and you're surprised that you made it out looking decent. Like, you might have not looked out. You might not come out the storm looking the same way that you went in. You might look better. You might come out looking a little worse. I was surprised that I came out just looking decent. I came out the storm looking okay. So I'm like, hey, that's a win for me. You feel me? And I was just like, man, I'm just grateful for another opportunity to get it right. Like, I get it now. Like, I understand. Like, the more you grow, the more you grow up, the more you mature, the more you go through things, the more you're just thankful that you get to go through things. And you're thankful that, hey, like, I didn't get it right today, but I can get it right tomorrow. So I give that challenge to everybody today. Everybody today, think about one thing that you didn't get right during the week or during the weekend or whenever, right? Whenever you feel like, just think about one thing that you've been dying to get right, or you've been dying to do, or you've been dying to progress in. Just think about that and think about how you can progress in that thing this week. Actually, forget this week. How can you progress in that thing today? How can you progress in that thing tomorrow? How can you progress in that thing the next day? Just take it day by day in how you're going to progress in that thing. And I promise you, you're going to see progress. It's inevitable. 1% better every single day. So what if we really be diligent on what that 1% is? What if people be like, man, you just got to get 1% better every day. Well, what's the 1% are you getting better at? There's so much we could be better at. Which 1%? How do you know what 1% to choose? So your challenge for this week is to choose the 1%. Which 1% do you want to get better at? Is it in your business? What part of your business do you want to get better at? And what part of that do you want to get better at? I want to get better at marketing, and I want to specifically get better at my social media marketing. And specifically than that, I want to gain 10 extra followers on on TikTok or on Instagram or whatever the case may be, right? Cool. That's your goal. That's where you start off at, right? And you work your way towards there every single day. How do we improve there? How do we improve here? How do we improve here? 1% every day. That's all I ask. All I ask is 1%. If you can give me more than one, I appreciate it. But as long as we're not going backwards, that's all that matters. As long as you're not going backwards, that's all that matters. And when you get to the other side, don't be scared once you get there. You asked to be there. Imagine, I watched this thing. I watched this thing from this creator, and he said, imagine praying, dang, what he say? He said, like, imagine praying for a full plate, and then imagine praying that your plate is full and then complaining that you're not hungry no more or something like that. Something along those lines, right? But like, imagine praying that you want to get to this other side. I'm like, man, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do X, Y, and Z. And once you get there, you're like, oh, no, you know what? Maybe I'm, no. I don't want to hear no maybes. I don't want to hear no buts. I don't want to hear no ifs. I don't want to hear none of that. We're here already. You're here. I'm here. I'm here with you. If you need anything, if you need anybody, I'm right here with you in support of you. It's an us thing. That's why I'm telling you, hey, listen, we both can raise our wine glass, shot glasses, or whatever. We can both raise those together because I'm with you. We're celebrating together. So don't look back. You have a dream. Denzel Curry said this like a day ago, like literally yesterday. He said, kids have dreams. Adults make those dreams into reality. I'm sorry, guys, but we're not kids no more. We're grown as fuck. We're not kids no more. It's time for us to make those dreams that we've been having since we were little boys and little girls. Now that we're grown men and women, it's time to make those dreams into a reality. It's time for us to change our lives. There's not a life change fairy out there. I don't know what people think, but there's not a fairy out there that's going to like, oh, alakazam, alakazoo, change your life, whoop-de-woo, whoop, and your life is changed. There's no such thing. There's not a genie that's going to grant you your 3 wishes that's going to be out there. All right, you want this, that, and the third, boom, 3 wishes granted. It's not going to be like that. But you know what it is going to be? It's going to be you by yourself every single day, pushing through, taking it one day at a time, taking it one step at a time, taking it one leap at a time. Hello. And just starting from there. Starting from 1%, moving to 2%, moving to 3%, moving to 4%, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth until you reach 100% completion. But also, newsflash, you're never 100% complete. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Arts Ball Podcast. I will give y'all my Dead or Alive. Before we get out of here, if this is your first time listening, hello. If this is your last time listening, goodbye. But Dead or Alive is a segment on the pod where me or the artist gets to choose other artists that we would like to work with that is dead or alive. Now, we can choose one artist. We can choose 100 artists. This is my podcast. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm gonna choose Denzel Curry. Actually, I'm gonna choose Kai Cenat because he's doing a Mafia-thon right now and that joint's lit. Yeah, I'm gonna choose Denzel Curry and Kai Cenat, and I'm gonna leave that right there. Thank y'all so much for tuning. Oh, I'm gonna choose Agent. You know, I'm gonna choose AMP. AMP. Shout out to the AMP crew. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of our Spot Podcast. I've been your host, Eric Curry III. You can follow me on Instagram at Eric Curry III. That's ERICCURRYIII. You can follow the podcast at Our Spot Podcast. If you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, please give me a 5-star and a review. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you can be notified every time we post a podcast. Remember that artists never die. Remember that I love you, God loves you. Do something that you love every single day. Do it well, do it with meaning, do it with purpose, do it with passion, do it with love. Remember, live today like it's your last. Forget about the past. Pour yourself an extra shot glass because in this world we're going to need it. We're celebrating you today, baby. Peace and love. I'm going to see y'all when I see y'all. I'm going to see y'all on Sunday. All right, I'm out.